This statement, "I don't do sales," I believe has the profound impact on the bottom line of many small businesses, and it does so in many ways. And by the way, I include my own business within that number. In response to the challenges that I saw my small business clients having, last year I launched the Sales Ninja program, and I designed this 3-month program to help salespeople and people who weren't in direct sales roles but who could, in theory, sell to customers, become better at the art of selling. And my plan this year was to launch a sister program called Service Ninja. So over the Christmas period, I began to map out the content for the Service Ninja program. And during this process, I had an epiphany. 80% of the content was identical. So in other words, sales and service were one and the same in terms of most of the activities required to be effective at them. At the same time I was thinking about this, I'd also had some conversations with some of my clients that caused me to begin to think much more carefully about the difference between being employed in a big company and in a small one. You see, in big companies, you've got a lot more people, and this enables them to organise into specific functions to deal with all types of aspects of customer-facing activity. So this is the model that I use with all of my clients. I call it the 7 mechanics of business. And I use this to help them understand where they are with their business, where their challenges are, and where their focus should be. Now within this, there are 3 customer-facing activities: get customer, deliver, and keep and grow customer. Now, big companies are able to organise themselves around these customer-facing activities. So they'll have a marketing department whose responsibility is advertising and promotion so that they generate leads. They'll have sales teams whose specific job is to sell to new prospects. And then these teams themselves may be supported by technical sales teams. And then once the order is in, large companies will have provisioning teams and delivery teams to get the product or service to the customer. And all through this process, customers will have access to customer service teams who can respond to any problems they have. And then once that magical first order is sent out to the customer, there are then people whose job is to make sure the customer is happy and to position any after-sales opportunities. And then there are account management teams whose job is to look after and grow the value and relationship with the customer. Now this is very different from small businesses, because there are very few small businesses that are able to make the economic case for all of these roles to be separate people. Yet, more often than not, people's responsibilities and the way they behave map to these old corporate roles, but it leaves some gaping holes. And this is where I think money is literally left on the table by small businesses. Now, in most small businesses, there are areas that I see again and again that for the sake of a simple conversation or an effort to connect with the customer, additional revenue and profit just goes begging. Not only that, but the customer's experience of your service is diminished, and that makes your customer at best kind of barely satisfied, and at worst subject to the risk of being lost to one of your competitors. And I think there are 4 key areas where this revenue leakage happens. Firstly, let's take a look at prospect management. So you think about all of the time, energy and money you spend pulling prospects towards your business. So you should be on the case really fast with them and then taking them through a well-designed and well-executed sales process. And if they buy at the end of that, that is brilliant, because you've now got them into the delivery cycle. But if they don't, they still need to be managed, because the most critical element of creating a sale is all of the energy that goes into building a connection that enables that sale to take place. So if you nurture and develop your prospects, you're going to be in the firing line and the front line position for when they do want to buy in the future. So ask yourself this: how many potential customers has your business spoken to over the last few years? And how often have you spoken to or contacted them since? Then once you get an order from a customer, most companies, even small ones, have a series of actions that I like to call the delivery process, that take the customer from order through to invoice. Now, depending on what they've purchased, this process can take anything from a few hours through months to even years. So who is keeping in contact with the customer so that they are constantly updated about the status of their order? You see, because I think it's an epic customer service fail if the customer has to contact you to find out what's going on. But also there's a huge opportunity to discuss modifications or additional works that may be valuable to the customer while that delivery process is in play. The third area where I think you leak revenue is once the order has gone out and the invoice has been dispatched, and who knows, perhaps they've even paid for the product, who is contacting the customer now to make sure that they were fully happy with the order, to ask for their feedback and to look for further opportunities to add value to the customer, or at least to make them know that they're valued? And then there's what I call the inter-transaction periods. So who's looking after the customer in between orders? Who's talking to them about about enhancements they might have to their product, refreshing their product, replacing it, servicing it, repairing, upgrading and supplementing it? So my theory is, and I've backed it up with a lot of work with clients, is that significant amounts of revenue get left on the table when these four things aren't properly attended to. Now, they're not difficult, it's easy stuff. But I'm pretty sure as you've been listening to this, a few light bulbs have gone in your head, because you know that at some level I'm telling you what you know you should be doing. These things are fundamentals of business. They're not the icing on the cake. They're not the nice to have. They are the basics. So why do they not happen so consistently in small business? I think it comes down to challenges around people's ability to engage in commercial conversations with customers. And those challenges are driven by some fairly primeval fears. So we will tend to avoid anything that may put us to risk of rejection or to risk of failure. And these things are quite deep-seated in our neurology. So every time one of those conversations has to take place, most of us experience some sort of emotional reaction to it. So I use this simple model when I'm working with my clients, when we're trying to figure out why the things we want to happen aren't happening in their business. And it comes down to one of these four reasons. The first thing may be that people don't understand why or how. Because after all, people are working hard trying to give the customer what they want. But the reality is the customer doesn't just want the product, they want the experience that goes along with it. And as a senior retail director once told me, retail is detail. These conversations build connection and they build a compelling reason for a customer to want to continue to do business with you. And the second reason people don't do things is that they don't want to. Now, I think here we're perhaps getting slightly closer to the truth, because the way humans are designed works against us here. We resist interacting with people, particularly strangers, and especially if that interaction may leave us vulnerable to a sense of failure or a sense of rejection. So in other words, we may avoid these conversations because we don't want to look stupid or we don't want to be disliked. And this has a massive impact on sales and service conversations. So if you ever wondered why you find yourself avoiding dealing with angry customers, not following up on the quotations that you sent, These are simple neurological triggers, and they're designed, believe it or not, to protect you from risk. So often, instead of engaging in these conversations, people will avoid or ignore the tasks, or if they do it, they'll do a half-assed job by sending an email instead of picking up the phone or going to meet the customer. This is simply unacceptable, because take a look at this chart. When you're face to face with someone, they get a very rich experience of your communication with them, because 55% of what human beings communicate comes via body movement and facial expression. And then 38% of it is the tone of their voice. Only 7% is the words. So can you see the challenge when you use written communications with a customer, that there is no movement and there is no tone? Now on the telephone, there's still not necessarily movement, although I do think people sometimes can detect movement. Perhaps you can feel while I'm saying this that I am actually expressing with my arms. But there's a very high dependence on tonality on the phone, and then slightly more importance is attached to words. I'm sure you've had an experience where you've sent an email to a customer and then you've got the most unexpected response and reaction to the email. This is purely because whatever you were trying to express maybe couldn't be done in words alone. Now the third reason people don't have these conversations is they don't have the time or they don't have the skill to be able to do it. Now generally I don't buy the whole time idea here, because I think these interactions are about the most important thing your team should be doing. So any lack of time is actually just poor prioritization, or as I long and often suspect, it's procrastination. So this may be as simple as shifting a priority so that people recognize these conversations with customers are not optional extras. So what about conversational skill? At the most basic level, we all know how to talk, and most of us know how to write. Yet I find when I help people truly understand language and how they structure and improve it, just a few simple changes can have a massive impact on the quality of the conversation that they go on and have with a customer. So your team need to be really proficient at clear and clean communication, the art of asking great questions, and the skill of diligent listening. And I genuinely believe there is a skills gap here, and it affects people's confidence in both face-to-face, written and telephone interactions. Now finally, the last reason things don't get done is that there is no consequence, good or bad, as to whether members of your team do or don't do these things. Because ultimately perhaps the only one who really feels the pain is the business owner, because it's their profits that are getting left on the table. You see, ultimately all of your employees will follow the path of least resistance to get their job done. And if they're not doing the things you want them to do, it's because for them it's easier not to. So your job as a business leader is to redirect the flow so that the path of least resistance becomes them doing what you want them to do. Now there's some system elements to deal with in this challenge, and if you don't have and use a really good CRM system and you're not willing to invest the money to get one, it would indicate to me that you're kind of not really serious about growing your business. £50 to £200 a month will get you a world-class CRM system. But what I think we're really dealing with here is a people challenge. So my first advice to you is to start with a structural change based around a simple principle: everybody sells and everybody serves. Everyone in your company should be and is capable of having quality conversations with customers that make the customers feel valued and loyal. The type of conversations that open up new possibilities for them to buy further products and services. Your job is simply to close the capability gap. Now, some of your people may be brilliant at these types of engaging and meaningful commercial conversations. Some may be brilliant at building relations, but not so good at asking for the sale or giving difficult news to customers. And others may lack confidence in having conversations at all. So wherever different members of your team are on this spectrum, I can help improve the quality and the number of conversations that your team members will undertake with customers. I've done a lot of work in this field across my client base. I've taught customer service people how to upsell and cross-sell during customer calls, and they went on to be so successful that within a short space of time, they were massively outselling the direct sales team in the same business. I've also had experience of training salespeople across a variety of sectors so that their quality of conversations vastly improved conversion rate. And then in my work with business owners, directors and managers through my leadership programs, I've transformed people's ability to engage with both customers, suppliers and their teams by helping them create shifts in their self-confidence and a deeper awareness of where their real influence in conversation comes from. So what I've decided to do is to replace my Sales Ninja and my Service Ninja program with a highly affordable and powerful program called Customer Ninja. Now, Customer Ninja is a 6-part exploration of the art of prospect and customer engagement. It is designed for people working in sales, customer service, or any role that brings them into contact with customers. By exploring some of these simple yet often forgotten or unlearned principles that underpin good connection and conversation, participants will quickly acquire high quality skills and new levels of confidence and capability. The difference in your company, and to be honest, in the lives of participants, will be massive and permanent. The 6 parts will all be delivered online using technology similar to what you are experiencing now, although there'll be added content and functionality. I'm going to offer Customer Ninja in 2 options. There's an online only option where we go through a 6-part exploration of the art of prospect and customer engagement. And by the end of it, you will have all the skills and capabilities to both understand and use these ideas in your business. But I'm also going to offer a live program, but I'm only going to do it for 5 people. And this will consist of 2 half-day training sessions, 3 one-to-one sessions with me, and access to the online program. The pricing for Customer Ninja is designed to be affordable, but also to recognise the value of this skill. So the online program is available for £200 plus VAT. The live program is available for £750 plus VAT. Now, for the quick and the brave, I'm going to offer some early bird pricing. So if you sign up by the end of this week, that's Friday the 3rd of March, I'll take 25% off of both of these program prices. So your next step is simply to email me today to secure your places with this brilliant early bird pricing. Also, if you want to have a conversation about the content or any aspect of this program, and that may include how I might come and run this program in-house in your business, also just drop me an email and I will respond to you. So look, thanks for listening to this short presentation. This to me is one of the fundamentals that seems to be such a massive opportunity for small businesses to upskill and provide much more value to their customers and drive much more value from their customers.